was 13 when I joined my church's youth choir. We practiced every Thursday night in a building that was over 150 years old. Beautiful, yes, but eerie in its silence. One evening, I stayed late to help the choir director. Everyone else had gone home. As I carried music folders to the loft, I heard humming. Not from the speakers, not from the sanctuary, from the choir loft, right where I was headed. It was a child's voice. I stepped into the loft and froze. Standing by the stained glass window was a little girl in a faded choir robe. She looked sad, pale. I opened my mouth to ask who she was, but she vanished. Gone, no trace, just the smell of old flowers. When I told the director, her face went pale. She pulled an old photo from her desk drawer, a choir group photo from 1957. The girl was there, front row, labeled Emily Carter, died 2 weeks after photo. They say she fell from the loft. Look, I saw it. And that night, when I got home, my voice wouldn't come out for 2 days, as if something had taken it. I was a janitor at a massive stone cathedral, one of those Gothic ones with towering ceilings and endless corridors. I worked the night shift, alone. One night, I was mopping near the back pews when I heard something that chilled me. The sound of whispering inside the confessional booth. The cathedral was locked. I was the only one there. At first, I thought maybe someone got trapped inside. But when I opened the booth, it was empty. The whispering stopped instantly. I checked the other side, the priest's side. Also empty. But carved into the wood was something new. Not scratched over years. Fresh, deep, bleeding sap. Even left. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, the priest took one look at the carving and locked the confessional permanently. He said, decades ago, a man came every week to confess violent thoughts. One day he said he'd finally acted on them. The next Sunday, he never showed up again. But sometimes, they say, the booth still whispers back. During a college trip abroad, I volunteered at a remote monastery in southern Italy. It was serene, isolated, ancient. One evening, a monk named Father Paolo invited me to help him clean beneath the chapel an old crypt sealed off from tourists. We descended by candlelight. The air grew colder with every step. The stone steps gave way to dirt. Beans lined the walls, monks buried centuries ago. As I swept near the back of the room, I noticed a strange door, half covered in bricks. Not that way, Father Paolo said sharply. But that night, I couldn't sleep. Something about that door called to me. I went back alone, sneaking into the crypt. The bricks were loose. I pulled one away, then another, until I saw an eye. Not dead, not human, watching. I ran. The next morning, I told Paolo. He didn't act surprised, just nodded and said, the room was sealed before the monastery even stood, and not by men. I was 17 when I got my first job, cleaning the old Baptist church where my grandmother worshipped. Every Friday night, I'd mop floors and dust pews, while old hymns played from a cassette system near the pulpit. One evening, I heard the organ start up, but the cassette wasn't in. The keys were moving, playing a melody I'd never heard. I looked up to the balcony. There was a figure in black, head bent low, hands moving across the keys. I called out. No response. When I climbed the steps, the music stopped. The bench was empty. I told the pastor the next day. He sighed and said, the last organist died up there, mid-sermon. They say he still plays, hoping someone will finish the hymn he never could. I volunteered with a youth group that worked with troubled teens. One of the girls, Tasha, started acting strangely after a prayer session. Her eyes rolled back. She screamed in Latin, a language she didn't know. She tried to hurt herself and others. We thought it was mental illness, but Father Ruiz insisted we try something else. That Sunday, a small group of us gathered in the sanctuary. Candles, crosses, psalms whispered through trembling lips. The moment the prayer began, the room dropped 20 degrees. Tasha let out a sound no human throat could make. She levitated off the pew. And then it stopped. Silence. Tasha collapsed, breathing, awake, crying. She never remembered it. But every night for months I heard footsteps in my hallway. And one night, I woke up to find dirt and ash in my bed. No prints, no sign of entry. Just the faint scent of incense. And the lingering words from that night. Words spoken by something using Tasha's voice. The church is not safe. It never was. Churches, sanctuaries of safety. Until the silence becomes too silent. Until the shadows start watching you back. You may kneel in prayer, but what if something is kneeling behind you? These were 5 disturbing true stories from the sacred places we thought we could trust. Stay curious, but cautious. And always remember, not everything inside the church is holy.